Welcome to this exam masterclass on AQA A-Level Business topic 3.1.3, all about distribution. Today we're tackling everything from foundational definitions right up to high-level AO4 evaluation skills. Let's master the strategic choices businesses make to get their products to consumers.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the value of distribution channels, direct sales and e-commerce, the role of intermediaries, multi-channel distribution, and wrap it all up with power, profit, and control. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The value of distribution channels. Let's lock down the absolute basics.
Okay, so here's the exact AQA subject-specific definition. A distribution channel is the route through which a product or service passes from the producer to the final consumer. You'll really want to burn this definition into your memory. Using this precise, examiner-approved terminology is absolutely crucial for securing those foundational AO1 knowledge marks. Whenever you discuss place in the marketing mix, this is the core concept you're talking about.
Moving on to Section 2, direct sales and e-commerce, how digital routes to market are changing the game.
So e-commerce is the buying and selling of goods or services over the internet or through electronic channels. Now, what's really vital to grasp here is that by removing the middleman completely, going direct to the consumer online, a business completely rewires its cost structure. You lose the retailer's markup, which has massive implications for both your profit potential and how much control you have over the whole brand experience.
And this shift ties directly to a really sophisticated financial metric. We're talking about the operating profit margin formula. That's your operating profit divided by revenue multiplied by 100. See, when you sell direct, your revenue per unit often shoots up because you're keeping the full selling price, right? Your gross profit improves. But don't forget, operating expenses like shipping and digital marketing change too. Understanding exactly how a distribution shift impacts this specific formula, that is top-tier exam analysis right there.
Let's look at a real exam context to ground this. Farmore Cycles. They're a specialist independent bicycle retailer operating as a worker cooperative. And they are facing incredibly high digital marketing costs, literally paying £7.80 per click. Because of this, their online sales are lagging behind the industry average, revenues are falling, and their employee costs remain super high. It just perfectly illustrates that going direct via e-commerce isn't some magic bullet. Without the economies of scale and the sheer expertise that larger national retail chains have, going direct can actually squeeze those operating profit margins pretty tightly.
All right, time to put your knowledge to the test. Go ahead, pause the video now and complete Task 1. This is an AO3 analysis task. Analyze how a specialist retailer like Farmore Cycles might use a direct-to-consumer online channel to improve its operating profit margins compared to traditional store sales. Remember, for those strong AO3 marks, you really need a logical, relevant chain of reasoning linking the specific action of online sales directly through to that profit margin formula we just talked about. Don't skip any steps in your logic, okay?
All right, Section 3, the role of intermediaries. Let's see what happens when we add steps back into the route.
A wholesaler is a business or intermediary that buys goods in bulk from manufacturers and sells them in smaller quantities to retailers. Now, you might be wondering, why would a business willingly give up a slice of their profit to a middleman? Well, sure, every intermediary takes a cut, but they provide something invaluable: massive market access and simplified logistics. Imagine a small farm trying to deliver individual blocks of cheese to 1,000 different houses versus just selling one massive pallet to a single wholesaler. The efficiency difference is literally night and day.
And that efficiency perfectly illustrates the sophisticated concept of Porter's 5 forces, specifically looking at the immense buyer power of large intermediaries. When you sell through giant retailers, it gives you an incredible advantage, massive economies of scale, and instant access to millions of consumers. But the threat is just as massive. If a retailer gets too powerful, their buyer power allows them to totally dictate terms. They can force manufacturers to accept lower prices, which effectively squeezes the manufacturer's profit margins just for the privilege of staying on the shelf.
Just look at the incredible supply chain power of the fast fashion giant Shein. Based on AQA exam materials, Shein wields immense buyer power over its suppliers. For example, a single order from Shein can push a supplier like Express to a massive 96% capacity utilization. We are talking 14.4 million units. Because Shein is just so huge, they can force these suppliers to operate with incredibly fast lead times to match rapid customer demand, and they ruthlessly push prices down. It's a hyper-competitive environment that perfectly demonstrates how dominant intermediaries get to write the rules of the game.
Section 4,
Multi-channel distribution, the strategic impact of using multiple routes at once.
So, multi-channel distribution is a strategy where a business uses 2 or more different channels, like physical stores, online platforms, and direct sales. Truth is, the best modern brands rarely rely on just a single route anymore. By using a mix, they can reach diverse customer segments, mitigate the risk of one specific channel failing, and offer a much more flexible, seamless shopping experience to the consumer.
Take Gymshark as a prime example here. They're a globally recognized brand with fiercely loyal customers. And they built that largely through a heavy reliance on low-cost social media influencers and a super powerful direct-to-consumer e-commerce setup. However, they operate in a fast-moving, highly price-elastic market, facing intense competition from massive retail giants like Decathlon. So, while their online-only model absolutely built their empire, relying solely on it might actually limit their next big phase of physical, mainstream growth.
So, let's apply this context. Go ahead and pause the video now and complete Task 2. This is an AO2 application task. Propose a multi-channel distribution strategy for a growing brand like Gymshark, justifying the inclusion of physical flagship stores alongside an established e-commerce presence. Now, for strong AO2 marks, you've got to apply your knowledge directly to Gymshark's specific situation. Think about their strong brand equity, their incredibly loyal target market, and the intense competitive environment they're in. Make sure your proposal actually fits the business.
And finally, Section 5, Power, Profit, and Control. This is our high-level strategic evaluation. The absolutely crucial point here is weighing the strategic trade-offs of removing intermediaries. If you go direct to consumer, the massive advantage is you get total control over your brand image and a higher profit margin per unit. The flip side? Well, you're going to face high digital marketing costs and some seriously complex, expensive logistics to manage. Now, on the other hand, using intermediaries gives you instant mass market reach and massive economies of scale. But you're sacrificing pricing control, risking brand dilution, and accepting lower profit margins per unit. Strategic mastery at this level is all about deciding which of these trade-offs aligns best with your specific business objectives.
All right, it is time for your final challenge. Go ahead, pause the video now and complete Task 3. This is an AO4 evaluation task. Evaluate the extent to which removing intermediaries is the most effective strategy for a manufacturer seeking to regain control over its brand image and pricing. Keep in mind, a top-tier AO4 response doesn't just list pros and cons. It requires a weighed, evidence-based judgment. You really need to decide which strategy is ultimately superior under these specific conditions and crystal clearly explain why.
To wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this exact quote from the AQA sample mark scheme. Top-level marks are attainable if learners weigh up the arguments made effectively and convincingly answer the questions set. I want you to review your answer to Task 3 right now. Did you truly weigh both sides of the distribution dilemma? Did you make a convincing final judgment? See, the choice of distribution isn't just about moving boxes. It's about defining who holds the power, who gets to keep the profit, and who ultimately controls the brand. Really think about that the next time you buy a product online versus grabbing it in a store. Keep analyzing, keep evaluating, and I'll see you in the next explainer.